So here we are, the Children's Media Conference. I can't believe it. This whole thing started when I had seen this show called She-Ra. It was the first non-sexual lesbian relationship that I had ever seen. I was so confused because I cried over this kids show. I realized it was because it wasn't showing me some adult relationship with all the gross sex stuff. It showed me something that I would want, that I'd hopefully achieve as the now just turned 14-year-old. Understanding this distinction was really important to me because I realized I'd felt left out. I then went on tangent after tangent, researching and complaining, till one night at 1 a.m, I had written some questions and was on the phone to Netflix for some answers. This went nowhere, of course, because the poor people on the account helpline didn't have any. Still, I wasn't going to drop this. So I found an amazing person, Lena Burren, who helped me get in contact with so many people in the industry. I got my friend Faye on board, and we did a BT Young Scientist project that got highly commended, by the way. If you don't know what that is, it is a science competition that runs for teens in Ireland. Then we did SciFest this year, another science competition, and now we're here.
This project was important to me because I got to share my thoughts on the negative effects of a lack of inclusion. I was raised by a wide group of independent women who were always ready to help me as I grew, but as I became more aware of the world around me, I realised I was in a minority. I never saw my type of family in the programs that I watched growing up. I never saw a single parent raising a child with a grandparent, which is surprising because only children, we watch a lot of television. I spent most of my childhood in an apartment in inner city Dublin. Growing up, I sometimes felt singled out for my different living scenario. I now wonder where this insecurity came from. When Erin came to me about this research, I started to question the things I had grown up watching. I had already discovered my queerness through She-Ra, the same show that Erin has mentioned. I think that not having seen representation of blended families or families living in different houses had had a negative effect on my identity growing up and how I view my upbringing. Our research supports this, as many of our survey recipients say the same in their responses. I believe that having more diverse families of all shapes and sizes is the way of progression and will only lead to better television and more inclusion.
We wanted to understand the industry more, so we interviewed animation, production, and broadcasting companies in Dublin. We even tried to send letters to big streaming platforms.
We also needed to know if others felt the same, so we created a survey and sent it around Dublin. We received 250 youth and participants.
The survey, interviews, and research were all compiled to make our report. This is what we entered into the BT Young Scientist competition. We did this research because we were tired of not seeing ourselves on screen and wanted to cover how detrimental some of the effects that this lack of representation has on the child. For example, issues with their identity politics is an unnecessary hurdle.
Check out some of our main results. We found that 57% of participants said that they felt TV didn't do enough when it came to representing minorities.
That 100% of minority groups felt misrepresented growing up.
100% of those in our minority said that misrepresentation had affected them negatively. These are shocking results that unfortunately prove our hypothesis. Broadcasting needs to promote shows with authentic representation and needs to make sure that no matter who you are growing up, that you have a chance to see yourself on screen. That means that no one is left out and no one is left behind.
While interviewing animation, production, and broadcasting studios, we got to connect one-on-one with the people who created the content we hold dear to our hearts. While we understand that certain topics might be inappropriate for younger audiences, that being said, it doesn't mean that these groups should be excluded altogether. As Gloria Steinem famously said, the first resistance to change is to say it is not necessary. This is our time to change, as Ireland has grown towards diversity and taken the stage as a small, yet inspiring country in diversity and equality. While we've done it in Ireland, let's keep this momentum going in the UK. As Ireland's world-class animation sector grows internationally, why don't we take this opportunity to grow the side of the animation industry? For example, let me tell you about a success story here in Ireland. Aidan O'Donovan and Colm Tobin from Turnip and Duck implemented a DEI policy, largely based on our chats. where they promise to prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion in all stages of their creative and business processes, and to be aware of their unconscious bias and blind spots. There is a lot of to and froing between broadcasting and studios. This makes it clear that communication is key. We believe policies should be implemented at both ends to work together to achieve the same goals. So what can you do? 1. Develop a DEI toolkit to follow. 2. Attract, employ, and promote culturally, ethnically, and diverse candidates within your organization to keep flying that flag. 3. Identify and prevent unconscious bias within your organization. And 4. Outsource work groups within community services to harness that energy. These steps will help prevent creating a stale creative working environment. In this big melting pot of change and policymakers, we are two young people from Ireland obsessed with using animation to promote equality. If we in any way inspired you to talk to us, we are here waiting and would be thrilled to hear from you. We are honored to be a part of CMC 2022 as Changemakers. Thank you so much for listening to us, and enjoy!